Why are Catherine and William the most popular royals? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we're going to be talking about how Kate and William, the Prince and Princess of Wales, remain the most popular royals within the British royal family, and how they've really been able to maintain their popularity and continue to grow it despite the Queen's passing, despite everything kind of thrown their way. Catherine and William have just walked through everything with grace and dignity, and it's really beginning to shine, and I think people are becoming more and more attached and more supportive of Catherine and William and their family. And I think that is a beautiful thing to see. I'm so excited to see both of them truly blossom into their new royal role. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of reasons, a couple of the recent polls that show how popular Kate and William are, and then in addition go into why I think their popularity is here and is here to stay. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I talk about pretty much everything related to royals. So I offer news and commentary and analysis, and I also will be reviewing television shows and movies, including The Crown, coming up here very soon. And I also have a trip to the UK planned in May 2023 around Memorial Day weekend. So if that's something of interest to you, I'll put that in the link down below. I'd love to have you join me. I'm so excited, and there's an early bird pricing going on right now. I also have a fashion channel related to royal fashion, so it's called Royal Fashion News. So if you guys want to head over there as well, I'll put the link in the description box. And just as a little side note before we begin this video, I will have to say, yes, I did put Kate Middleton in the title, and I know some people will complain and be upset about that. I'm sorry, please place your complaints to Google and the algorithm, because that is why I do it. It's for search engine optimization or SEO purposes. And that's something where her name, just as Kate Middleton, just gets more traction than the Princess of Wales, which generally is Diana, or Princess Catherine, Princess Kate, Duchess Catherine, or whatever. It tends to be that Kate Middleton seems to do better, so that is why I'm using it in the title of this video. So just putting that note out there, because I know I get a couple of complaints about it. But moving on, we've had a couple of just fantastic reports showing how popular Catherine and William are. So in the latest YouGov poll, the Queen, this was before the Queen died, so the Queen was most popular. She was at 73%. And then the next one we have Catherine, the Princess of Wales, so she was at 66%, and her husband, Prince William, was at 65%. That's not, it would be better if they were probably in the 70s, but that's still good numbers. And remember, a couple of years ago, Harry was even more popular than the Queen, guys. He was more popular than the Queen. And now he's, yeah, let's see what he's at right now, just out of curiosity. So Prince Harry is currently at 9th place, guys, and he used to be number 1. He's 38%, like Meghan Markle is 27%. She's a little better than Prince Andrew at 8%, but still, that's pretty bad. But Catherine and William is 66 and 65%, just after the Queen's 73%. And then another new poll we got, in a survey of 1,095 British adults, 69% consider Prince William favorable, followed by his wife Catherine, 67%. Princess Anne, that's a bit of a surprise, came in 3rd with 64%. King Charles, 54%. And then let's go down. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle came in 5th and 6th, followed by Prince Andrew, and apparently those were their only options. That goes to show you how popular Meghan and Harry are. And I think there's really 8 reasons why Catherine and William remain the most popular royals. Now, these are just my opinions. There's obviously more reasons, but I think these are generally, I think, what people really do appreciate about Catherine and William, and basically their roles within the institution and how they're basically changing it from within, but slowly and with a lot of respect, I think. So number 1, I would say, is that they're modern parents. What this means is that they don't just see their kids 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. Like, this was the experience of Queen Elizabeth in her childhood, Prince Charles, or King Charles now, in his childhood. So Catherine and William, I feel like, are very hands-on parents. We see this in how their children interact with them, how they react to them. And this is not just Catherine. It's not just Catherine, although we see the children gravitate sometimes, especially when they're younger, more to their mother. But we see this a lot in William as well. William seems very involved in his kids' lives. He does the school run a lot, and we see him interact and be very loving towards them. And I think the best moment, the best example of this was when they were at the Trooping the Color in 2019, and little Louis really wanted his daddy. He was in his mother's arms. That's how they started out. But he really, really wanted his daddy. So what did they do? Catherine and William switched, and Louis is in William's arms. And that tells me, I don't have kids myself, but that tells me he really, really enjoys being with his dad, and he spends a lot of time with his dad. If his dad was somebody's distance that he didn't see a lot, that he just didn't interact with a lot, he would be perfectly fine with his mother. The fact that he really, really wanted his dad, and that's not something you can script. You can't script that. He was so young, he just was like, well, I want dad. I don't want mom, I want dad. I want to be a big boy in this moment. And so I feel like that was just a huge reflection of that. So I was unbelievably impressed by William and Catherine in that moment, and how really they are modern parents. They're very, very involved in their kids' lives, which is unusual actually for royalty. Even throughout history, there was just not that much interaction. Obviously, when monarchs actually ruled their countries, there was a lot more they had to do. When the Queen was first coming up, there was a lot for her to do in the 50s as she was still young. The kingdom was still recovering from the Second World War. And there was just so many reasons why the Queen was exceptionally busy. Transportation was slower, so when she went to visit the Commonwealth, hey, that took months, not a week. So I feel like we see a great change with Catherine and William. And I feel like too, if Catherine and William, if they are able to raise 3 well-adjusted children who are not falling out of bars or anything like that, Catherine and William will be worth their weight in gold, and they will set the monarchy up fantastically in the future. The next thing is that they really do have this fantastic way of starting great projects which have a great impact and can involve a lot of people. So I'm particularly thinking of the Earthshot Prize, the Hold Still Project, and the Heads Together. Now I'll just focus more on the Hold Still campaign that Catherine did because I have something else for Earthshot Prize. But I just love how that campaign that Catherine ran, it involved so many people, and it really brought people into the moment of the pandemic. I actually haven't gotten Hold Still, and I really want to because it's a snapshot of everybody's lives. I don't know anybody who's done that in that way because it wasn't just professional photographers could do it. It wasn't morbid or anything like that. It was families, interactions, how people managed it. I feel like it was just fantastic to see how Catherine was really able to bring in the entire country on this project. And she did a fantastic campaign where they put out and they put books throughout the country that people could find and use for free and everything. So I feel like there was this great effort not only to just remember and have this thing that can commemorate the pandemic, but really involve everyone in the country. Anyone in the UK could submit a photograph about their experience and share a bit of their story. That's powerful. And I don't think every photo got in the book, but as many as they could, they posted them places that people could interact and engage with this. And I think this will be something that really people appreciate for generations and perhaps even centuries. It is a great snapshot of the pandemic through the eyes of everyday people. And that's something that I think will persist and grow throughout the coming years. So moving on to Earthshot Prize, and this is my number 6 pick, is that Prince William through Earthshot Prize is he's trying to innovate and change without shaming. So obviously there's a lot of strong feelings about climate change, whether or not it's happening, how much it's happening, the people who are spray painting buildings and gluing themselves to masterpieces to fight against climate change. Sorry, but they are idiots. Just not even gonna go there. Why would you paint yourself to how is that helping anything? I really wanna know. I really wanna know how destroying ancient art is going to help us now. Just tell me it. It's just a publicity stunt. Oh, I cannot stand it. Cannot stand it. If you want to, if you are somebody who believes very, very strongly in this, which William does, here is what you do. You look for change. You look for innovation. Within our minds is the capacity, I think, for great change. And I don't feel like people think it's a doom and gloom scenario. It's like, no. Maybe there is a change. Maybe there's an innovative way, for example, to get all the trash out of the ocean. Maybe there's an innovative way to rebuild coral reefs. And it's something that Catherine and William saw while they were on their royal tour in the Bahamas earlier this year. There is change and innovation that can happen without shaming people, without telling people, hey, you shouldn't get on that private jet. Or, hey, let's figure out which seat you are on the plane and how much carbon emissions that you are that seat exhibits, so you can feel bad about it while you're flying. Or you can pick the economy seat because you give off less carbon emissions that way. That way you can feel better about yourself, which is what Harry does through Travelist and through his other efforts. Harry had this whole thing with Travelist where hotels and resorts could rank the people going to them and telling them, well, hey, you weren't conservative enough. Hey, you used too many towels. Hey, you used too much toothpaste. You used too much water. Who wants that on vacation? If people want to keep a personal record of that, sure. But that the hotels and other travel organizations can rank customers, generally that's not the best idea in the world. However, Earthshot Prize is looking at trying to find ways, hey, over the next 10 years, let's push the limits of science. Let's push the limits of innovation. Let's see what we can fix in our world. And I feel like that's such a better way to go because it doesn't shame people. People have to travel. There's people who have to use trucks because they're truckers. There's people who have to take flights because they're a salesperson. They have to fly to different parts of the country. I always feel like sometimes some of these climate people want to just shut the earth down and rebuild in a primitive age or something. It's like, but that just doesn't work. The world needs to continue to go on. If you want to do the scorched earth policy, yeah, that's probably not the best idea. And I don't think anybody will come out on top of it. But I do think there's ways to adjust and to address these issues that people are so concerned about. And I think that's a way William is doing it, where I think it's just so positive in the way he's doing it. He's not saying, this is the end, you must do this, if you're not doing X, then you are a terrible person, which I feel like is what Harry and Meghan do. Oh, you are flying first class on a jet, you should fly economy. There's less carbon emissions that way. That's what Travelist can tell you. But it's like, no, why don't you go ahead and book whatever flight you want, and you have to deal with those consequences, because either way, somebody's going to be sitting in that first class seat. It's not that the first class is going to go away. They always fill up first class pretty much. So I feel like that's a really critically important thing that Prince William is doing. And obviously we have the Earthshot Prize here in December in Boston, which I will be attending. I will try to get press credentials. Don't know if that'll happen. So if you haven't subscribed already, you should, because the more subscribers I have, the more requesting press credentials might be a little bit easier, but I will definitely be there and I'll be definitely covering it for you all. So I hope you guys are really excited about that, because I know I am. And the next point I'll go to is that Catherine and William don't portray themselves as saviors, or don't portray themselves as, oh, we're the game changers, we're changing everything, we're historically important. Because that's one of the things that's really bothered me about Harry and Meghan, and not to dissuade from whatever Catherine and William are doing, but Catherine and William are just getting on with the work. They're just saying, this is the work we want to do. And because they're trying to envision a different future or a better future, or they're trying to change up what they have right now, they're just looking at the future and looking at what they want to do and how they can help people, rather than just going, okay, our love story is so impactful, everybody wants to see it in a Netflix documentary. I would actually be more interested in seeing the background of Catherine and William's love story, because we don't actually know that much about it. Whereas the Harry and Meghan, we know far too much about them. But we've heard them a lot recently say, oh, our love story, our love story, our love story. As if it's something where it's just utterly earth-shattering that Meghan was able to marry in the British monarchy. And I just don't personally think it was. Catherine really paved the way for her by being a commoner to marry the king. And Catherine is just had this quiet dignity about it. And they're not standing there telling the world, shouting at the world that we are self-important, we are going to change things. No, they're just getting on with the royal business of the day. And I think that is critically important, because once you portray yourself as a savior, people do expect you to actually save something. That's the problem Harry and Meghan are running into, is they're screaming, we're saviors, we're saviors, we're the best, we're the best. And yet they can't really bring any of it to the forefront. Whereas I feel like Catherine and William, through this quiet work they're doing, are really making big changes. Some of it we don't see, but I feel like we'll feel the ramifications of it for years to come, rather than just somebody barging through and saying, I'm going to change everything. Rather, Catherine and William are just like, okay, we're going to do what we want to do, knowing that it's perhaps different than what's been done before. We'll take risks. Some of them will pay off, some of them won't. But hey, things will change, and that is really, really good. So I feel like as well, Catherine and William are really focused on what is affecting Britons. They are really focused on the UK, what is going on in the UK, especially when it comes to the area of mental health. This has been something that is a passion of Catherine and William's. In different ways, we see Catherine with the early years center. She's trying to develop and understand how the early years of our life impact our mental health in the future. Now, whereas I think some mental health conditions are just genetic, like something like schizophrenia, and just will manifest at some point in your 20s. You can have a perfectly normal life and still have mental health issues. However, I do think there is strong evidence that Catherine is finding and publishing to say that, yes, your early years do matter. Your childhood does matter when it comes to your mental health, how you were raised, the environment you were in, how supportive you found expressing your emotions, expressing your feelings, how you manage different things, and how, especially the impact of social media can affect your life. That is a huge thing. I feel like especially for young people. I mean, when I was a kid, we had the little Game Boy. I think they finally came out with like the smaller Game Boy, and that's what I had, and I had a gold one, and I saved up money to get that. So this little gold Game Boy that I had no color. It was very basic. It wasn't even as basic as the early ones, but it was a very, very basic system. And that was what a game was. Now kids have phones, they have iPads. So how do we navigate this world? And I feel like that's something Catherine's really invested in. That's why she went to Denmark earlier this year, met with Crown Princess Mary and Queen Margrethe, and just learning more about how different organizations, different research organizations are trying to understand childhood and how those things that happen in our childhood and how we're raised and how we interact with the world impacts us as an adult. We also had the Heads Together project with Catherine and William and Harry at the time were part of. It was just an outreach to help with mental health issues. We also have Shout that they helped create where people could call in with issues and they could get some mental health assistance when they needed it. So this has been something that's been a big passion of William's. And I think part of it, a huge portion of it, comes from the loss of his mother. Losing his mother so young, I don't think William has any particular mental health issues, but he knows what it's like to go to depression, to go through grief, go through loss, and how challenging it is to have something just so catastrophic happen in your life. How do you deal with it? How do you manage it? I feel like William has really tried to figure out how he could use his own experience and his own loss to help others. And I feel like that's a fantastic thing. I think the next thing is that Catherine and William, I feel like, are just so regal. I remember seeing the picture of them at one of the Buckingham Palace garden parties this summer, and they were just standing there and they just looked like a king and queen. They just looked the part. And granted, looks aren't everything, but when you are royal and you are going to be a king and queen, you have to sell it. That was part of my issue sometimes with Meghan, is that she would be so casual. She had the messy bun. There was one event in South Africa where she was so casual. I was like, you might as well be going to the farmer's market. That's what you look like right now. You just look so ridiculously casual and so ridiculously underdressed. Whereas Catherine and William always look on point, especially Catherine. Catherine, even in the most casual outfits to the most glamorous tiara event outfits, always look exceptionally well put together, in that she put a lot of thought and effort into her outfit. And granted, that's not everything, but if you're a royal, your hair should be on point, your makeup should be on point, your outfit should be on point. It shouldn't be wrinkled, it shouldn't be too tight or too short. Whereas I think Catherine did struggle with the shortness a bit early on in her marriage, although, you know, she was younger at the time, so that kind of makes sense. But as she's gotten older, the hemlines have definitely gotten a little bit longer, and she's really come up with a very regal style scheme that I feel like works for her really, really well, highlights her looks, and also she always, again, looks impeccably put together. And there's only one time in the entire time she's been married into the British royal family where I looked at her and I was like, what happened to you this morning? It was not too long after they had George. Her hair was long, her roots were bad. I'll find a couple of pictures here. This is not to shame at all, but this was like the one time I thought, what the heck happened to Catherine that morning? It just must have been a rough time with George. Something happened. But I can only think of one time where I've ever thought, oh, something wasn't working with the hair and everything. That's really, really impressive. Whereas Meghan, I almost feel like every outfit I've ever seen her in has been incredibly sloppy, wrinkled, her hair's a mess, everything is mad. So I want to give mad props to Catherine, because if you are a royal, you have to sell it. You can't just show up in a casual jeans and jean jacket outfit that's so loose and so casual that you look like you could be going anywhere and you could be anyone. As a royal, you should always dress in a way where as you're conforming a bit to where you are and what you're doing, but at the same time, you're elevating it. And I think Catherine has captured that beautifully. It's a bit harder with men in terms of royal fashion, but I feel like William, in addition to just being himself, I feel like he's very regal. He holds himself with a lot of dignity, and he has this fantastic voice to reach out to people. And I feel like we see that all the time. And so I feel like Catherine and William exemplify that regalness that royalty is so known for and that we need from royalty to really sell it. Because at the end of the day, if nobody believes you are king level material, that's bad for the monarchies, because everybody's going to be like at some point going, do we really need this guy? Do we really need this family? So if Catherine and William can't capture the mystique and magic of the monarchy, they're dead in the water. They will eventually, the UK may eventually go Republican. So that Catherine and William have been able to maintain this and have been able to, in a very modern way, modernize the monarchy, yet keep its mystique and keep its regalness, I think is key. One of the other reasons I feel like Catherine and William just exemplify this effortness of royalty so much in this regalness is that they exhibit the Queen's quiet dignity. And they don't complain really. They don't totally explain. So they follow that, what's been laid out for them. But the biggest example I can think of, when those topless pictures of Catherine went worldwide, Catherine and William were on a tour in Asia. You did not see a hair out of place on Catherine, nor did you see her publicly react to that story at all. You did not see it. You did not see her in scowling or emotional or anything. She just got on with the day as if nothing was wrong, as if everything was perfectly fine. And you know what? We think about that situation less because she acted like it didn't happen at all. Whereas Meghan, she complains about everything. So people go through back things and they analyze things over and over and over again. And her pity fest in South Africa gets replayed in people's minds over and over again. And people replay it all the time, in part because it's just something now where people can point to, go, oh, you were complaining. Oh, you were doing this and that. And it was like, oh, are you okay? But you see Catherine. Nobody asked Catherine if she was okay. I'm sure she wasn't. But did she act like she was okay? Heck to the yes. Did we have any idea? If you didn't know what had happened, would you know that Catherine, her breasts had basically been exposed to the world? No, you would have no clue. She did not act it in the slightest. And I think because of that dignity, because of that, we're just going to get on with it. We're just going to get on with it. People have forgotten about it for the most part because Catherine and William didn't draw attention to it. And I feel like William, you saw more of a reaction from him, more of an emotional reaction from him. But Catherine, she was just like, okay, smile. And I get it. It's hard. It's emotional. I'm sure she was tearing up, crying, bawling behind the scenes. But we didn't see it, and I feel like we're all better for it. I feel like Catherine's in a better position worldwide because she did not throw this pity party for herself. She just said, okay, send. We're going out. And I'm not going to do anything. And I think the distraction probably helped too. And you saw this as well with the Mexit, although Catherine went into the Buckingham Palace. You can maybe tell that she wasn't having the best day. It was her birthday because they released it right before her birthday, that she, again, just went about her business. And then you saw, and I'm sure she was disappointed that she couldn't have Meghan anymore there to take some of the media heat off of her. I'm sure Catherine enjoyed having somebody else the media could focus on rather than her. Because I feel like Catherine really blossomed after Meghan married in part because Catherine's like, oh my gosh, the stress is not on me anymore. And I think that is a fantastic thing to learn. Whereas Harry, we see him as well. Think about William and Harry. William, sometimes we do see his frustration, but it's not as evident as Harry, who can look petulant and angry at different events. And we see that especially now a lot. Whereas William is just like, sure there's some days where he's frustrated, where he's, especially when it comes to the Queen's funeral, that he's sad, but they keep it together. I think there's something great to the effect of maintaining that quiet dignity, going through things as if nothing's really happening, even though it might be behind the scenes. There are things perhaps we don't know that happen behind the scenes. There could have been affairs, there could have been, giant spats that we've seen. The only time I would ever say that Catherine and William seemed to have an argument that we saw a bit was when they were in Poland, and Catherine did look exceptionally mad. Other than that, we have no idea what they're thinking. And sometimes that's for the best. Royals are not supposed to share their innermost thoughts. That's not why they're there. They're there to represent their country, their culture, their heritage, their nation. That's what they're there to do. They're not there to throw a pity party for themselves. That's why that quiet dignity is so important, is because it puts the focus back on the engagement, back on the events, back on the monarchy, rather than pulling attention to themselves. But of course, that's always what Harry and Meghan wanted to do. And finally, what Catherine and William have done, which I think is critical to maintaining the monarchy, is that they're continuing the legacies of Princess Diana and Her Majesty the Queen. So what do I mean by that? Well, they are modernizing like Diana wanted to. They're being more casual. They're engaging more. They're taking selfies now. They're trying to be a little bit more almost touchy-feely with the public in a way. And yet, they're still maintaining the dignity of Her Majesty, that quiet grace that you go through, that you are still royal. There's certain ways people should interact with you. So they are modernizing, yet respecting the traditions and the heritage that the Queen laid out for them. They're not just trashing everything and going, hey, let's bulldoze this all to the ground and we'll build it up ourselves and make it better. That's what Meghan wanted to do. But no, Catherine and William are wanting to instead modernize and yet keep with the traditions and the heritage, just changing them slowly as the times change. We see this reflected especially in Catherine and William and the recent engagement in Scarborough, and how they went there and they had this whole initiative where it was a community impact day where they brought over $345,000 to the community that was raised through their foundation. They gave a donation. Their foundation was able to raise through private donors, organizations, $345,000 to impact the community. They still did the royal walkabouts. They still did the general royal visit. However, they want to change that model so that a royal coming to a community has a real impact. And I think that's huge. And I feel like that those lessons of history, they're learning from it, they're trying to change it, they're putting their own spin on things, but without totally demolishing everything in the process. And I feel like, again, that is so critical for any royal, is to do that, because you have to understand, you have the monarchy not because people necessarily absolutely love it, but there's something where most people are like, we just had this and we have to deal with this. And I feel like too, there's a quote from, I can't remember who it was now. It's like, a democracy if you can keep it. And I feel like the same applies to the monarchy. You can have a monarchy as long as you can keep it. You have to work to keep it. And I feel like that's what Catherine is doing. They're trying to make the monarchy and themselves and their family something people want, something people are invested in addition to investing in local communities. They want them to invest in the power and the influence that Catherine and William can bring. And I feel like that is a fantastic thing. And I feel like the monarchy will be better for it. The royals will be better situated, and the monarchy will continue to grow and impact the world well into the future. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know why you think Catherine and William are the best royals in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Bye.